Okay, so I'm going to do a video on data warehousing. Let me get off of here. My mouse is kind of crawling. I just want to minimize this for a moment. There we go. All right, so a couple of things. I went to, boy, my mouse is not working. I'm going to maximize this too. Okay, so in the canvas, in pages, under the Business Intelligence Data Warehouse, the last link is to the script that we're going to use. The script has three parts, which I'll talk through one at a time. The first part is creating the database. The second part is assigning all of the keys, and it's important that we do these as alters because in the next assignment we will have to drop all these constraints and then add them back in. After we have added all the primary keys and foreign keys, then we will insert all of the data, and then we'll be ready for the, to have the data warehouse. But I want to talk through it. So I have already copied and pasted the script into SQL Server. And I want to talk through it a little bit. I'm going to zoom up so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so we're going to create a database called Metro Alt DW, which was Metro Alt Data Warehouse. When we create that, we're going to add some tables. Now, these tables are a rearrangement of the data that's in the relational database, Metro Alt. There are dimension tables and fact tables. Dimension tables describe the facts. So, for instance, we have dim employee. Dim employee has the employee key, the position name, the hire date, and the employee pay rate. We could have put their names in there, but for statistical analysis, you don't need or want their names. We have a dim bus where we describe the type of the bus and describe basically its description and purchase price. We have the route, we have the schedule, we have the date. Date is an important one. Typically, you want to measure things in terms of time, and you need to do, in order to do that, you need to have a good date dimension. This date dimension has the date key, which is just a random key. It has the bus schedule assignment date from bus schedule assignment. It has that date broken down into year and month. You could go further. You could break it into day, month. You could break it into day. You could break it into hours. But for our purposes, I don't think we need to go that far. So those are our dimension tables. Then we have the fact schedule, and the fact tables are the tables that have the information that you're actually going to analyze. In this case, it is mostly the riders and the fares per route. Notice it also has a link to all of the dimension tables. The fact table is basically has links as foreign keys to all the dimensions that describe it. A data warehouse can have more than one fact table, and it can have, each fact table will have several dimensions that describe it. We're only going to do the one. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to run up to the top here, and I'm going to run just the part that creates the database. So we go to use master, etc. I'm going to execute. Down below it says the command's completed successfully. If I right-click on databases and refresh, you'll see that there is a Metro Alt DW. And if you go in there, you will see that it has the tables that we just described. Now, these tables have no primary keys or foreign keys, and we need to add those. So the first things that we have here are the primary keys for each of the tables. Notice that the fact table, the primary key consists of a composite key that includes all of the foreign keys. All right, so the fact table, the primary key of it is a composite of all the foreign keys. I'm going to, after that we have the foreign keys, and I'm only doing foreign keys as foreign keys within the fact schedule. So each of the parts of the primary key is also a foreign key. So I am going to run this all the way up to the top of the alters. So right here, I'm going to execute those. Now, before we go do the inserts, I am going to show you the diagram of this database. So I'm going to right click here and add a new database diagram. We have to add the components, yes. Gives me that. I'm just going to use Shift and get all of the tables. I'm going to do add. And when they're all done, I'll do close. And you can see that it's basically, they call this a star pattern. And basically at the center of it is the fact schedule, and then it is surrounded by the dimensions that describe it. Okay. And that's a common structure. Now, again, you can have more than one fact schedule, but more than one fact table, but each fact table will be surrounded by the dimensions that describe it. So we've created the data warehouse. For our purposes, we don't actually have to populate it, but I am going to, just to test it. So we need to make sure that we can actually put data into each of these tables. And it's kind of complicated. There's a lot of inner joins here. We will go through them one by one. I've added some selects just so you can see that the data has actually been put in. Again, these inserts are in the script. So for the dim employee, I'm going to get things from the Metro Alt employee table and from the position table and the employee position. So all the data comes from Metro Alt, but we're putting it into our data warehouse. So I'm going to run the first one. If we go down, it says 500 rows affected. Yours will have more than that because you did the import of additional employees and I have not. I am going to execute the select, and you can see that we have the dim employee key, the position key, the position name, and the hire date and their pay rate. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing for bus. Whoa. Let me expand that again. I'm going to press F5 to do this. It says 156 rows affected, and we can see that it has all the buses. So I'm going to do the same for bus route. It's really important that you not skip any of these. Otherwise, your fact table will be empty. So I'm going to do F5, and then I'll look at the routes. I'm going to insert into the schedule. F5 at 365,000 rows. And I will run that, and we'll see that we have all of that. And then I'm going to do the date one. And again, when you look at the date one, you might notice that we have the bus schedule assignment date, and then we have the year and the month. And as I said, you could break it down further if you wanted, but I think this is far enough for our purposes. It's also really important, by the way, that you put the distinct in there. We don't want hundreds of different versions of the same date. We only want one combination of the month, year, and date. So basically, notice it was reduced to 1,089. If you don't have the distinct in there, it will fail later. I'm going to do F5 again, and you'll see that we have all of the dates. So it has the date itself, the year, and the month. Now the fact table is a really, I'm going to lower this a little so we can get the whole fact table in there if I can. This is the hardest part to write. If you do this, it is really complex to get all the data into the fact table. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inner joins. And it's a combination of joining to the natural alt tables and the internal tables in this database. But we are going to highlight all of this. I'll press F5. You should look at this. So it takes it a while because it's really complicated. But we end up with 365,000 rows in there. So I'm going to do select star from fact schedule. And you'll see that it has all of the information there. And this is what will be the core of our analysis when we do it. Couple of other little things. Before you ever do this, before you run any of this, it would be a good idea. Now, if you do it after the fact, it's not a big crucial thing because we're going to actually empty our warehouse and run it again later. But you should do an update on ridership. So I'm going to do update ridership. I have already done this one, so this is going to return. So we want to use Metro Alt. Okay, and we want to update ridership, set fare key equals 4, where fare key is null. This is because you did that import, and the import had the riders and the bus schedule assignment key, but it did not have the fare key. So if we do this, in my case, it'll be 0 rows affected because I've already done it. But that's in your case, it should be about 35,000 rows affected. That'll give us a better analysis when we do the analysis. So even if you do it at the end here, that's fine. But we should do, it should be done before we do it. As I said, we've just populated these, and I would keep this script. But we are not going to keep that because one of the things we'll do is create an SSIS package that we can run whenever we want to repopulate the data warehouse, because the data warehouse is not live. It is processed offline. And so whenever the changes occur in the Metro Alt, you would want to re-import them into the data warehouse. So that, I think, is the video on data warehousing. Don't know if that's better or not, but I am going to kill the video right now.